And on the sidelines of the East Asia Summit, India's External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar has met with US Secretary of State Mike Pompeo in Bangkok just a little while back. The meet is especially a high-stakes one, considering that this is the first time that the two leaders are meeting after Trump's controversial comments on offering to mediate over the Kashmir issue.
India's External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar has met US Secretary of State Mike Pompeo in Bangkok on the sidelines of the East Asian Summit. Foreign ministers meet. In the meet, both sides discuss issues of convergences such as Indo-Pacific and contentious issues such as trade. The meeting comes in a backdrop of the US President raking up Kashmir for the second time. He 10 days ago talked about Kashmir and said that he's willing to mediate, and that the Indian Prime Minister had discussed about Kashmir mediation when both the leaders met on the sidelines of the G20 summit in Osaka. And this was something that irked up New Delhi. New Delhi, of course, clearly came out with a release, and the External Affairs Minister spoke in the Parliament refuting it and categorically assuring the House that no such offer was given by New Delhi. But it's India-US relationship. There are, of course, highs and lows, but by and large, this is a strategic partnership both the sides would like to preserve.
All right, so this, of course, has been a bit of a sticking point in one would expect when the two leaders, S. Jaishankar and Mike Pompeo, has met. It's also going to be very interesting to see as to how this, of course, will be taken forward. Now, in some news alert that's just come in, Mike Pompeo has conveyed his Indian counterpart in clear terms that any discussion on Kashmir will only be with Pakistan and only be bilateral. Now, this of course, is some bit of information that is coming in. But also, let's dwell a bit upon what has been happening so far as a backdrop of this story. President Donald Trump, remember, when he had met with Imran Khan at the White House, he had stated in no uncertain terms that Prime Minister Narendra Modi of India, at a time when he had met him during the G20 summit in Osaka about 2 weeks prior to that, had asked, this is the term that he had used, he had requested the president to intervene over the Kashmir issue. And later, there was a complete sort of a change in terms of what President Trump said, where he said that he is willing to mediate if the two sides want. So from being requested to mediate over the Kashmir issue to, in fact, climbing down to offering to mediate. So that is what has happened so far. And meanwhile, I'm told that my colleague Siddhant Sibil is joining us over the phone line. Siddhant, we understand that the two foreign ministers, S. Jaishankar of India and Mike Pompeo, the Secretary of State of the United States, have met. Do we have information as to what has transpired in their meeting so far as this statement by Donald Trump is concerned, where he's offered to now mediate over the Kashmir issue?
Well, Mohammed, the meeting is over, the meeting which happened in Bangkok, and clearly the Indian side has spoken on the comments made by the US President Donald Trump on Kashmir. The second time he has raked up Kashmir in the last 10 days. The External Affairs Minister conveyed to the American side that the discussion on Kashmir, if at all warranted, will only take place with Pakistan and only happen bilaterally, clearly reiterating what he said in the Parliament, that when it comes to India and Pakistan, all issues, whether it's waters or, of course, it's Kashmir issue, it can only be resolved bilaterally through Shimla and Lahore Declaration that has been in the Shimla and the Lahore Declaration. But clearly, the Indian side has in clear terms told that when it comes to Kashmir, it's better that any third-party mediation is not allowed, because that is the policy of the Indian government. We know that US President Donald Trump has spoken on Kashmir again, and this time he, in a sense, diluted his stand. He said that it's up to the Indian Prime Minister to take the offer of mediation. He earlier had said that the Indian Prime Minister has spoken about mediation by the Americans on Kashmir when both the leaders met on the sidelines of the G20 summit in Osaka in Japan.
Absolutely. And also, Siddhant, considering the manner this whole incident has played out, you know, when Trump met Imran Khan at the White House, he said Prime Minister Modi had requested him to mediate, and today we heard a statement where he said that if the two leaders want, then he would, of course, step in to mediate. Now, Donald Trump is clearly pursuing a certain strategy he wants to try and get involved in the Kashmir issue. He's been rebuffed before by India, where Indian Foreign Minister on the floor of the House in the Parliament had stated that this is strictly a bilateral issue and we don't want any mediation efforts. Now the question that I want to ask you is there a clear policy that Donald Trump is following, or is this a one-off gaffe? Because this cannot be a one-off thing, because the same stand has been reiterated by him today as well.
Well, it's typical Trump style of negotiation or deal making that we are seeing, because this is not in India. He is with other allies. He is trying to have some barter system, whether it's with the Canadians or the Europeans. So this time it's we have seen when it comes to India, he has been talking about Kashmir. But talking about Kashmir is something that might not only irk New Delhi, but a strong response from New Delhi, sovereignty, territorial issues, or Kashmir. New Delhi is not only touchy, but very, very strongly opposes any kind of mediation or talk by any other country, because this is an issue that is that concerns the sovereignty of India.
Right.
We know that Indians have not joined the CPC for one single reason, that it passes through a territory which is under illegal occupation of Pakistan, and that makes India one of the few countries who haven't joined the region with the Chinese connectivity program. So clearly, it seems the American side is playing with fire, and they're going to get a strong response. Already, the External Affairs Minister has tweeted that when it comes to Kashmir, only India, Pakistan can bilaterally resolve it.
Absolutely. We'll have to leave it there. Thank you very much indeed, Siddhant, for joining us and getting us all those insights. It remains to be seen as to how this, of course, proceeds further from here, where Trump has again this morning made another offer to mediate over the Kashmir issue. And again, we've heard from S. Jaishankar, where he stated that in his meeting with Secretary of State Mike Pompeo earlier this morning, he had made it clear in no uncertain terms that Kashmir issue is strictly a bilateral issue between India and Pakistan.